If you want to start a business with your spouse, but you're worried that you don't have enough to get started, you're worried that you don't have enough money, you don't have enough time, maybe you don't have the right knowledge or the right skills. Well, then today I'm going to show you how everything that you need, it's already inside of you and it's already inside of your marriage. And in this video, I'm actually going to show you the very simple formula that my husband and I followed, and it allowed us to build our seven-figure business together. Even though when we got started, we were super broke, we had zero business background, and we also had a crazy busy schedule. Life was busy when we got started. So if you are here in the Zoom room with me on the live session, then just type "let's go" in the chat and let's get started. All right. So most people think that they can't start a business unless they have these three things. Okay. And those three things are tons of money. I can't start a business unless I have tons of money. I can't start a business unless I have tons of spare time. And I can't start a business unless I know exactly what I'm doing from start to finish. A lot of people actually think they need a degree, lots of certifications, years of experience. So people think they can't get started unless they have lots and lots of money, spare time, lots and lots of knowledge. They've got the exact steps from start to finish on exactly how to succeed and never ever fail. So this holds people back, obviously, because what people do then, before they make the decision to even start, is they look at their bank account and it's small, so they decide that that's not enough. They look at their crazy busy schedule and they say that's not enough. I don't have enough time. Or they look at their knowledge and their skills, even though they have lots of knowledge and they have lots of skills. They just think, well, those sets of skills and that type of knowledge, it's not enough. It's not enough to get started. What these people are doing is they're actually looking at everything on the outside of them. But what the truth is they should be looking at the abundance that God has already placed inside of them. Things like their passions, their interests, the strengths they already have, all of the wisdom that they've accumulated over time, all of the creativity. Oftentimes what we do is we look at that set list that I just gave you and we typically write it off, right? We write these things off as, well, these are just my hobbies, right? Like leisure activities. These things are unrelated to making money. There's no way that these things would translate into a business. And when people are married, what couples will often do is they will often write off the power of their marriage, right? Instead of understanding and recognizing their marriage for what it actually is. And your marriage, whether you've been told this before or not, let me be the first to tell you, your marriage is your God-given X factor. Like, it is the supercharged secret sauce that can amplify everything in your life, but only if you know about and then follow God's design for marriage instead of the way that the world has people doing marriage. Okay. So your passions are not actually just hobbies. If you choose to leverage them, your passions actually have the potential to become some pretty great business assets. Okay. So your passions could translate into business assets. In your proficiencies, that's a big word. I'm going to try to spell it correctly on the board. Proficiencies means the stuff that you're good at, like just your natural born talents. Your proficiencies, these aren't just the things that you list out on your resume. They're not just list of resume items. They could actually become the startup capital for your business venture. So the things that you are proficient at, proficiencies, feel free to spell check me in the chat. Or if you're watching this later on YouTube, drop it in the comments if I spelled that word wrong. Yes, I know I used to be a teacher, but I don't know how to spell every single word in the dictionary. So your passions could be your assets. Your proficiencies could be your startup capital. My camera could be moving all around. Go ahead and stop moving, camera. Thank you. And then your marriage. Going back to your marriage, if you are married, your marriage is not just a relationship. Your marriage is actually your God-given multiplication machine. And I'm not just talking about babies, okay? Your marriage is a multiplication machine. So we'll talk about your marriage in just a minute, but for right now, I want to talk about your passions and your proficiencies. In Luke 6:45, it says that a good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth good. God has placed treasure inside your heart. That treasure, because God placed it there, that treasure is good, right? And if you are good, and I know that you are, if you are good, then you will use that treasure to produce good things. So, what is this treasure then that is inside of you? What has God placed inside of you? That treasure is your passions. It's everything that lights you up. God gave you that spark, right? And it's your proficiencies, everything that you're just naturally good at, all of your natural talents. God gave you those abilities. But have you ever asked God why? Why am I so interested in this stuff? Why am I the one geeking out over this when everyone else seems to be focused on other things and topics? Why am I so good at this one skill or talent when it just seems like so many other people fumble with it, right? So if you are the type of person who believes that God gave you a purpose, then you must also come to the conclusion that your passions and your proficiencies will serve your purpose. If these are treasures that God gave you and God gave you a purpose, then those things are there to serve that purpose so that you can walk it out, right? So I'm going to show you the very simple formula that my husband, John Paul, and I followed that allowed us to build our business together. And that formula worked for us, even though we had very little money when we started. We didn't have business degrees or any formal business training. And at that point in time in our life, we were chasing toddlers. Our children are older now, but they're still on the young side. But when we first got started, they were teeny weeny. And we were running all around after them. And we were also running all sorts of ministries through our church. John Paul's an ordained pastor. He was running the youth ministry. We were running the marriage ministry. We were running a discipleship ministry. I was bouncing in and out of the kids' church classroom. John Paul was also a full-time high school teacher when we got started. And I was doing all the things at the home. All right. So maybe I just described your life. There are two versions of this formula. All right. Two versions. First, I'm going to show you the basic formula. And it's good. This basic formula will work for a person who wants to build a business. But then I'm going to show you the supercharged formula. The one that if Christian couples who want to build a business together, if they took this formula and paired their marriage with it and then applied it out there in the world, like it's not game over, baby. It would be like game on. So if you are with me on this Zoom, just type in the chat for me, type game on, right? Give me just a good old Wayne and Garth game on. All right. Let's talk about that basic formula first though, okay? So we take these two passions, we put a plus sign there, plus proficiencies. We turn it into a math problem. Okay? Passions plus proficiencies equals profit. Your passions are, of course, your interests, the stuff that energizes you. Like you would do this stuff for free. Okay. And when you get around other people who also are super interested in this stuff and you start to talk about it, like you guys just start talking and geeking out and you have a conversation and like nobody else in the room even understands what you guys are talking about. You have your own language. And when you walk away from this group of people, you are all fired up, like you are energized, like it got you excited. And your proficiencies, like I already said, these are the things that you are naturally talented at, the stuff you're already good at. It didn't take you a whole lot of practice or effort to do the thing and do it well. These are the things that other people come to you for. They might ask you for your help with it. They might ask you for advice about it. They might even compliment you or comment somewhere like, you are so good at that. Or maybe they even say, like, you should do that for a living, right? This stuff just comes natural to you, but you notice that other people struggle with it. And sometimes you even wonder, like, why do they struggle with it, right? And then profit. This one is the money maker, okay? Where you combine the first two, your passions and proficiencies, and then you turn it into a business, a money making business. If you can do this, you guys, if you can combine what you are passionate with plus everything that you are good at, and you can turn it into a profitable business model. All right, I got my Mr. Burns fingers going on here. Like you will create the type of work that doesn't actually feel like work. You're going to look forward to it. It satisfies you. It fulfills you. You wake up in the morning and you jump out of bed and you just you can't wait to get into it. And bonus, it provides you with a really great income and it also provides you with time freedom and it allows you to make really great choices for yourself and for your family. It allows you to build for the future. All right, you get it, right? If you can put out this all together, then that is a really, really great thing to put together. But here's the truth. The honest truth that a lot of people who are teaching this stuff don't actually tell you. So listen up, okay? Just because you're passionate about something or just because you're good at something doesn't mean that people will be willing to pay you for it. So a lot of people will teach you just follow your passions. And because you're so excited about it, you'll never run out of energy for it, right? But what happens when not too many other people besides yourself even care about that thing that you're passionate about? And sometimes people will teach, well, just do what you're good at because it comes naturally to you. You'll just flow. And since you're good at it, you'll be able to reproduce it a lot, right? But what happens if that thing that you're really good at, that natural talent, what happens if nobody really needs it? Okay, so profit. Profit is the result, right? In order to get a specific result, when you're putting an equation together, you've got to plug the right combination of items into that equation in order to get that specific result, right? 2 plus 3 equals 5. If you don't plug in a 2 or a 3, you will not get a 5 into that very simple addition problem, right? So unless you are plugging in a specific combination, you're not going to get that specific result. So what I mean by that is you can't just throw together a random mix of passions with another random mix of proficiencies and expect it to result in a profitable business every single time, right? You have to choose a passion plus a proficiency that intersects with a market need or desire. This is where the profit is. Okay, so we're going to write that down. I'm going to choose a different color. So profit is when you can identify and tap into what the market either wants or needs. Okay, so we've got our market. What do they need? Or what do they want? What do they desire? People will spend their money on pretty much just two things: stuff that they want or stuff that they need. Like, think about the things that you spend your money on. You either needed it or you wanted it, or somebody in your household desperately needed it, right? Like those video games that I'm spending my money on, those aren't for me, right? It's either you or somebody in your household or somebody that you bought a gift for. They either needed it or they wanted it, right? And these are pretty much the only things that people are spending their money on, unless they're really super bored and they're just spending money on stuff, right? Okay, so this is the formula, like I said, for creating a business that is not only profitable, right? But it also fires you up and fulfills you. So that's the basic equation. But now I'm going to show you the supercharged formula that husbands and wives can use to create a business together. This is them doing it together, that's going to blow their minds and bless their families and just create so much impact in the world. It's just absolutely amazing. But first, before we get into that, we're going to need a little bit of Bible to connect it all. Okay, so we're going to go actually to the beginning. We're going to go back to Genesis. So we're going to go to Genesis 1. We're going to look at 27 and we're going to look at 28. If we were in church right now, I would say, if you have your Bibles, turn to Genesis 1, 27 through 28. Okay. So we're just going to tap into these just a little bit. In verse 27, it talks about how God created them, both of them. It says male and female, he created them. So the them, the both, that is important. So make a note of that. All right. We're talking to both of the people. And then in verse 28, it shows us that God told both of those people, he said a handful of things. These are directives. These are directions for us to follow. All right. So you ready? Let's make a checklist. Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue it, take dominion over what? If you look at that list of things he told us to take dominion over, it's pretty much everything, right? So it is be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue the earth, then take dominion over all the things, everything's, right? This is the first direction we ever see God giving humankind in the Bible. And so if you study this thing called the law of first mention, you understand that the first thing referenced in the Bible, the first thing that God mentions is very, very important. And we need to make a note of it. We need to follow it. We need to recognize it and honor it for what it is. All right, you get it? But the main thing here too, one of the very, very key things that I told you to recognize is he didn't say this just to the man. He didn't say this just to the woman. He said this to both of them. Go out into the world and then use that treasure that God has placed inside both of your hearts. Use that treasure to fill up the world with what kind of stuff? If you're thinking good things, then you are correct. Go out into the world, use that treasure that God placed inside both of your hearts and fill up the world with good things. And that scripture doesn't say be passive about it. Okay? It doesn't say do this only if and when the world gives you permission to do it. No, it says that Christian families, because this is the man and the woman, right? Christian families are called to subdue the earth. The earth is wild, you guys. And God told us from the very beginning, you're going to have to tame it. Right? So think about all these people in the world today out there throwing tantrums on social media. Like a bunch of toddlers. So I believe that if Christians don't take this directive seriously enough, that this is the reason why the world is acting like toddlers, is because Christians don't take that directive seriously enough. Okay, that's what I meant to say. Like I could go on a rant about this, but I won't get started. I won't subject you to my rant. Okay, about all the toddlers in the world. All right, I'm done. So God closes that first directive that he gives us, though. He closes it by telling us to take dominion. So after you subdue the world, after you tame all these toddlers out there on the world stage, your final step is to then take dominion over the world, right? Because God gave the world to God fearing people to steward, okay? The world is wild. You know, it's full of all sorts of crazy stuff, but it is the Christian's responsibility. I believe this, that it is the Christian's responsibility to walk in your authority. Okay? Think about your responsibility as a parent. How do parents subdue their wild toddlers? Right? By asserting their authority. Okay? In a loving and biblical way, right? So we need to get out there in the world and get out there in the marketplace and assert our authority out there, our dominance, but in a very loving and biblical way. Okay? I'm not talking about violence or aggression. That's weird. I'm talking about responsibility, walking in your authority as a Christian, excuse me, in this world. It's your responsibility to do that. Okay, enough with the lecture. You guys get it? You got it? Good. Okay, let's jump into the supercharged formula that I was talking about. Okay, we call it the dream team formula. That's what I call it. It's that same formula that I showed you, but it is slightly different. And I want you to look for the difference. Okay, put it in the chat, put it in the comments. What is the difference that you see as I rewrite this formula out? Okay. So it's still passions plus proficiency and it's still profit. But I know the chat is filling up and maybe the comments if you're watching this on YouTube later. What is the difference in this equation, right? Who can see it? I need to get a new camera that doesn't move around on me. Thank you, robot camera, but just stay put. Okay, so you can see the difference, right? Exactly. It's that tiny little 2. You guys saw it. What's that called? Do you remember what's that called? Like, yes, it's squared. Exponent. There you go. This is an exponent. Who remembers exponents from math class, right? Just wave at me if you know what exponents are. You remember them. What do exponents do? Exponents exponentially increase your results. Okay. So now, as husbands and wives, we've got the passions plus the proficiencies plus the profits of both the husband and the wife. Whew, that is an amazing thing right there. Okay. This no longer turns into just a basic, simple addition problem. When you add exponents, you get the exponential power, you get multiplication, you are like doubling, tripling, quadrupling. What do we call those? Squares and cubes. And I don't know what they call it in the fours, quads. I don't think so. But this is the exponential power of a united alliance. Okay. So Deuteronomy 32:30. Let me write that down for you. Deuteronomy 32:30. I'm not going to spell the whole word because it is ridiculously long. If you know it, just go ahead and say it out loud. 1 can chase 1,000, 2 can chase 10,000. That's right, right? Okay, but it's where 1 can chase 1,000, 2 can put 10,000 to flight. Again, that's the exponential power of a united alliance. Because if you think about that scripture, it's not 1 can chase 1,000, 2 people can chase 2,000. They didn't just add 1 and 1. If you look at the exponential power in Deuteronomy, that's a 10x, right? 2 people working together just did a 10x increase in their results. So if you and your spouse take that same type of math And then you apply it to the mandate that God gives husbands and wives in Genesis 1:28. And then you also tap into the authority that he also already gave you in that scripture, understanding that God doesn't ever tell you to do something and then not fully equip you for that task, right? If you and your spouse do this, put this together, you guys, I don't even know how to paint the mental picture for you of how this all goes down when husbands and wives are following God's design for Christian marriage rather than the world's broken system. When this type of couple combines their own unique blend, their own secret sauce of passions and proficiencies, and they blend them together, the results that are produced, like they will just blow your mind and just bless the socks right off every single member of your family, including yourself and your dog, if your dog wears socks. And I'm not just talking about money. That is a bonus. I'm not just talking about money. Everything else that is included is also your marriage. This can exponentially enhance and bless your marriage and your children. This can exponentially enhance and bless their experience, their education, their spiritual growth as little people, as they grow when you train them up into grown people, right? It can exponentially increase their confidence in themselves and in their confidence in the Lord, and just solidify their walk. And when they go out into the world, like they will be a part of it. They certainly won't get caught up with it because they will have had this type of foundation going on in their household. This is what they grew up with. This is what they saw mom and dad doing. Like when you combine one spouse's passions and proficiencies with the other spouse's passions and proficiencies, you don't just add your results together, you multiply them. Okay. And this isn't just a motivational phrase. Okay. This is biblical mathematical principle stuff going on right here. And so the dream team formula, that's what I call it. That's the cute little title that I came up with for the incredible, powerful operating system that God has designed for each and every marriage. But you can only leverage this formula. You can only leverage it if, number one, you know about it, right? And if you know how to combine each other's specific passions with your specific proficiencies to intersect with some sort of market want or need. Remember, so the only real way to generate meaningful, consistent profit in a business is you have to actually provide something to the market that it wants or needs to spend its money on, right? So when John Paul and I first decided that we were going to build a real estate investing business, so what we do is we flip houses and we own rental property. And John Paul no longer teaches. We just do this full time. But years ago, when he was still teaching, we knew we wanted to build out something like this, but we also knew that there was a lot that we didn't know. But because we are teachers, education is important to us. You would hope so, right? You would hope that education would be important to educators. And I'm sure it's important to you all as well because you're here with me right now. But we said to ourselves, we were just like, okay, so we don't know exactly what to do step by step from start to finish. We actually don't even really know how to get started, but we know that we can learn, right? So we watched a bunch of YouTube videos and we went to a handful of seminars, and then eventually we ended up hiring a coach. And the first thing that our coach helped us with is he helped us work on our mindset. There were just a lot of things that needed to change about how we looked at the world and how we made decisions and how we actually looked at ourselves. A lot of that needed to change as well. We had a lot of limiting mindsets when we got into this. But the second thing that our coach then had us do when he walked us through his program is he had us inventory our strengths and our weaknesses, and he had us make note of our likes and our dislikes. So he did this to show us basically, yes, there was a lot that we still needed to learn. But if we were going to do this together as partners, he wanted us to realize that we actually already had the foundation. We had all of the raw materials, if you will, to build a really solid foundation. And the raw materials for our foundation, what we would put together and then build upon, these were our skills and our knowledge and our interests and our passions, the stuff that we already brought to the table. Even the stuff that seemed unrelated to real estate and making money in real estate. Like, he wanted us to know that we actually had more than enough already to launch this thing and get it up off the ground. So he had us create 2 lists. And then he walked us through those lists, crossing off the things that were irrelevant and highlighting the things that were relevant, that were in alignment with what we wanted to do and where we wanted to go. So let me just show you a quick example of those lists. So when I listed out my passions, my proficiencies, my skills and stuff like that, for my passions, I was actually really passionate about teaching. I'm just going to call myself B. Even though I had left teaching, I was still really passionate about it. The reason why I left teaching is because it didn't pay me any money and I wanted some, but I still loved teaching. So my passions, abbreviate it for your sake. One of the passions on my list was teaching, and another one was marketing. And then a couple of my proficiencies, okay, you guys can see that, good, was communication. So communication was something that I was good at. And then also building relationships. So I'm going to call building relationships networking. Could also call it connecting. And then when John Paul wrote out his lists, he was really passionate about home renovation, which seems random because he was a choir teacher, but we had purchased this little crummy house and we were remodeling it while we lived in it. So he found, as we did this, that he was actually really passionate about home renovation. So I'm just going to say remodeling. How about that? And the man also loves problem solving, whether he is playing a goofy little game on his phone or he's trying to figure out how to fix a wonky floor that's uneven. Like, the man loves problem solving. And then what he was good at, his proficiencies, is he was really good. He was good at managing people. Like, this comes from his classroom management skills. Don't move on me, camera. He was good at managing people, and he was really good at planning out scope of work. So I'm going to say managing people, and then creating a scope of work. None of these passions or proficiencies that we brought to the table came from any sort of formal business training or any sort of past real estate investing experience. This all actually came from classroom teaching. This for us came from the classroom. It also came from our experience in ministry, right? So teaching and marketing. How does marketing have anything to do with ministry? Well, you want to bring people to your ministry, right? Especially if you've got a youth ministry. You want to bring the youth in. You want to bring people to your church. You actually have to go out and find those people sometimes. Sometimes you don't step into a church and there's just 100 teenagers there for you to disciple, right? Sometimes you've actually got to put some stuff out there. So I actually did some social media marketing for my church before this, and teaching obviously came from the classroom, and then communication, and then networking was something just from getting together with other people, other churches, figuring things out, all that type of stuff. And then John Paul, like I said, the remodeling, the problem solving, and then the managing people. If he could manage classrooms full of teenagers, he could get those contractors to do whatever. If you can get a teenager to do what you want, you can get a grown person who's working on your property to do stuff, right? And then the scope of work that came from lesson planning. So these interests, these skill sets that we wouldn't have really put together as a real estate investing foundational package to start with, right? These all came from something that seemed unrelated. Classroom teaching, ministry can result in a real estate investing business. There there are things inside of you. There are things inside of your spouse that you might be writing these things off, but they could actually become like that secret sauce combo that ends up being the business concept that completely changes the trajectory of your life, right? So let me ask you two questions. Okay. So if this became the building blocks of the foundation of what is now our 7-figure real estate investing business, let me ask you just two questions here. Okay. Question number one, I want you to think about your spouse right now, not yourself. Think about your spouse. What are a few things that your spouse is really passionate about that you know lots of other people share those same similar passions? What is something that your spouse is really good at, they're skilled at, that you know other people, when they attempt this, they're just not that good at it? They fumble with it, they biff it. What are things that you know people are coming to your spouse and asking them for help or asking for advice or just commenting like, he or she is really good at that. So I want you to think about your spouse right now, not yourself. Like I just said, just take some time to identify those qualities in them and just make a little list, like just two or three things each, like a couple of passions, a couple of proficiencies, and then put them in the comment section for me. Just brag on your husband or your wife. What are they good at? And you know it. Okay. And then the second question that I have for you is, how would things in your life change if you stopped looking at what you lack on the outside, like money, lack of extra time? You don't have certain degrees, you don't have specific certifications or experience. How would your life change if you stopped looking at those things, but you started looking at instead the abundance, the treasure that God has already equipped you with inside of your heart? Those are your passions, your natural abilities, the lessons that you've learned from the hard times that you've gone through, or the answers that you have come up with from different problems or issues in your life that you have had to solve, stuff that you've had to work out. Like, it's not always just your passions and your skills. Sometimes it's the victories that you have achieved from some of the valleys that you have had to walk through, right? So, just in the comment section, I want you to paint me a picture. I'm like, just really give me some details here. Take your time. Come back to this. This is going to be on YouTube later. So if you're on the live with me right now, we might not have time for this, but this is going to be on YouTube later. You can come back to the comment section if you're already here with me on YouTube. Maybe just type it out for me, but like give me some details. I'm really excited to see what you put. How would your life change? What would you be doing? What would you be building? What would you be creating? What would you be experiencing if you started tapping into the authority that God already gave you way back at the beginning of humanity? Okay. So if you and your spouse want to build a business together, yes, of course, there's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be some struggle. There's going to be uphill battle, right? There's stuff that you need to learn that you don't already know. There are things that you need to acquire that you don't already have. but the raw materials to build a strong foundation, one where you can just launch this thing and get going, something that you can build, that you can confidently scale and grow from. That's already on the inside of both of you. And when you finally put it together into this like winning combination, like you guys are going to be just completely unstoppable. So if you joined me on the Zoom live today, I just want to say thank you. But if you want to join me on a live Zoom session later in the future, then the link to how you get to that live, how you get to that Zoom, it's all going to be down in the description. So the link to the live session will be in the description below. So here's the reason why you actually want to join me on that live Zoom call, not just catch this later on YouTube, is number one, joining me on the live is free. And the benefit is I actually take time before and after the teaching, before I dive in, and then once we're all done, I have a conversation with you and I answer some of your questions. So you've got the opportunity to hop on before I start teaching, get your questions answered, hang out with me after the teaching is over, get some questions answered, pick my brain. On YouTube, I'm just delivering the teaching to you, right? Just the main event. But on the live Zoom call, you actually get the strategy session, okay? And the strategy session is a game changer. So I just want to say thank you to all of you for joining me. Paint that picture for me down in the comment section below, and I will see you all in the next session. Take care.